You are a slave. I need you to sit with that. Don't move past it. Don't get comfortable. Don't try to negotiate with it. I said, you are a slave. And the most terrifying part of that statement is not the word slave. The most terrifying part is what you are enslaved to. You are not enslaved to a person. You are not enslaved to a system. You are not enslaved to a government or a corporation or an ideology. You are enslaved to a thought, a hypothetical, an imaginary tribunal that sits in your mind every single morning before you even open your eyes. And it judges everything you are about to do with your day. What will they think? What will they say? What will they post? What will they whisper? And here is what makes this particular slavery so catastrophic. The people whose opinions you have mortgaged your entire existence to do not think about you. They are not thinking about you right now. They were not thinking about you yesterday. They will not think about you tomorrow. They are far too busy being enslaved to your opinion of them to have any leftover capacity to form a serious thought about you. So what you have, what millions of human beings carry as their most prized and most protected possession, is a cage built from the opinions of distracted, insecure, incomplete people who are themselves dying for your approval. That is not freedom. That is not wisdom. That is not maturity. That is madness. And today, we are going to cut the chain. I want to tell you a story. And I need you to pay attention, because this story is not about an animal. This story is about you. Picture, if you will, the African savannah at the hour just before dusk. The sky is turning that deep bruised orange. The grass is gold and dry and whispering in the wind. And moving through that grass, silent, deliberate, magnificent, is a lion. Not just any lion. This is a fully grown male. He is at the absolute peak of his biological authority. His mane is thick and dark. His muscles move like living machinery beneath that gold coat. His eyes are locked, fixed, surgical on a herd of wildebeest 200 meters ahead. He has not eaten in 3 days. His body knows this. His instincts are sharpened to a razor's edge. Every single nerve ending in his body is calibrated for one singular purpose: the hunt. He begins to move low, impossibly slow for a creature of that size. His paws place themselves with the precision of a surgeon. He breathes in intervals. He is patience made flesh. He is power made patient. He is dominion walking through the grass. And then a fly lands on his ear. One single fly, a buzzing, tiny, weightless, irrelevant, microscopic fly. It lands on the edge of his left ear and it begins to buzz. And the lion, this sovereign of the savannah, this apex predator that not a single creature on that plain would dare challenge this lion. Flinches. He shakes his head. The fly returns. He shakes again. The fly returns. He flicks his ear. He twists his neck. He loses 2 steps of his approach. The wildebeest shifts. The wind changes. The angle is broken. The window, the perfect 3-day hunger window, closes. And the lion stands there in the grass, watching the herd thunder away into the dust. Defeated, not by a predator, not by a rival, not by the environment or the weather or the intelligence of his prey. Defeated by a fly. Now, I need you to understand something. The lion did not lose the hunt because the fly was powerful. The lion lost the hunt because the lion gave the fly permission to matter. That fly had no teeth. It had no claws. It could not wound the lion. It could not stop the lion. It had no capacity to end the lion's life or diminish the lion's strength or alter the facts of who the lion was. But it buzzed, and the lion responded. And in that response, in that single involuntary flinch of acknowledgement, the lion handed his focus, his trajectory, his destiny over to something that weighed less than a single breath. Now let me ask you a question, and I want you to be honest. Who is the fly in your life? Who is the small-minded, weightless, purposeless, buzzing voice that you have allowed to reroute the entire trajectory of your calling? Who is the person, and I use that word carefully, who posted a comment, who whispered in a corner, who raised an eyebrow, who said, "That'll never work"? And in that moment, you flinched, you lost your angle, you lost your approach, you lost your window. And the worst part, the part that should keep you up at night, is that the fly never knew it stopped the hunt. The fly moved on. The fly found another ear. The fly is currently buzzing in someone else's destiny, completely unaware of the carnage it left behind in yours. That is the nature of small opinion. It does not intend to destroy you. It is simply looking for a reaction. And the moment you give it one, you become the lion who stood still in the grass, watching your purpose walk away. Now I need to go deeper, because I am not merely talking about self-confidence. I am not talking about motivational posturing. I am not asking you to simply believe in yourself and buy a poster for your wall. I am talking about a foundational principle, a cosmic law, something that was established before you were born, before your name was given, before a single person on this earth had the opportunity to form an opinion about you. I am talking about dominion. In the beginning, and I mean the very architecture of human design, a being was created and given a specific mandate. That mandate was not to fit in. That mandate was not to be approved of. That mandate was not to perform for an audience or to seek the nod of the crowd or to wait for permission before moving into purpose. The mandate was dominion. Dominion means governance. Dominion means original authority. Dominion means that the assignment on your life was handed to you by the creator of the universe. And that assignment does not require a committee vote. It does not require peer review. It does not require the applause of people who themselves have not yet discovered their own assignment. But here is what happens to human beings in the social environment. We are born with this original authority, this blueprint of uniqueness, this specific frequency that no other human being who has ever lived or will ever live carries in the same configuration. We are born with it. And then we go to school, and school tells us, do not stand out. Conform to the structure. Give us the answer we are looking for. Sit in rows. Raise your hand. Wait for permission. And if you express your originality too aggressively, if you color outside the lines too often, we will label you, medicate you, and redirect you back toward the average. And then we go into social life. And social life tells us, do not rise too high. Do not speak too boldly. Do not dress too differently. Do not dream too loudly. Because if you do, we will become uncomfortable. And when we become uncomfortable, we will attack. We will mock. We will whisper. We will scroll past your dreams with a sneer. And so what does the human being do? The human being begins to edit. They begin to shave down the corners of their calling. They begin to lower their voice when they speak about their vision. They begin to preface every bold statement with, I know this might sound crazy, but, as though they must apologize for having been assigned greatness. They begin to murder their originality. And I want you to understand the weight of that phrase. When you reshape yourself to earn the approval of people who are themselves shapeless, you are not being humble. You are not being wise. You are not being strategic. You are committing an act of violence against the original. Dr. Munroe used to say that the wealthiest place on the planet is not the oil fields of the Middle East. It is not the diamond mines of South Africa. It is not the trading floors of Wall Street. The wealthiest place on the planet is the graveyard. Because in the graveyard lie books that were never written, symphonies that were never composed, businesses that were never built, cures that were never discovered, movements that were never started, paintings that never saw a canvas, technologies that never saw a prototype, sermons that never left a throat, all of it buried, all of it lost, all of it silenced, not by lack of talent, not by lack of intelligence, not by lack of opportunity, by the fly, by the buzzing, weightless, purposeless opinion of people who themselves died with their music still inside them, who were too afraid to live out loud. And so they spent their energy ensuring that you were too afraid as well. Misery is a franchise, and validation seeking is its most profitable product. Now let us talk about the psychology, because you need to understand what is actually happening in your nervous system when you seek approval. You need to understand the biological architecture of this trap so that you can dismantle it with precision. When a human being receives social approval, a like, a nod, a compliment, a share, a comment that says, yes, you are enough, the brain releases dopamine, the same neurochemical released by cocaine, the same reward pathway activated by gambling, the same biological mechanism that drives every addiction known to medicine. That is not an accident. That is not coincidence. That is design, and has been weaponized against you. The social media platforms understood this before most of us were even asking the question. They built entire architectures around this chemical response. The infinite scroll, the notification badge, the heart button, the counter that tells you how many people validated your existence today, all of it engineered to keep you coming back, seeking, craving, performing. Because a person who is constantly performing for approval is a person who is never building anything real. And here is the insidious part, the part that makes this addiction more dangerous than most chemical dependencies. With every cycle of approval seeking, your tolerance increases. The 10 likes that satisfied you last year no longer satisfy you. You need 20, then 50, then 100. And the moment the number stagnates, the moment the applause dims even slightly, you experience withdrawal, anxiety, restlessness, the compulsion to do something, post something, say something, not because it serves your purpose, but because you need your hit. And in that state, in that frantic, neurologically hijacked state, you will compromise. You will say things you do not believe. You will suppress things you know to be true. You will reshape your values, your aesthetics, your calling, all to get the number moving again. That is not living. That is performing. And there is a catastrophic difference between those two things. A performer needs an audience to exist. Remove the audience, and the performer collapses. Has no identity, has no direction, has no self outside of the applause. This is why so many people who achieve external success, who get the followers, the likes, the validation they have been hunting for years, arrive at the destination and find it hollow, find themselves emptier than when they started, because they built their identity on the sand of other people's opinions. And sand does not hold. Only purpose holds. Only original assignment holds. Only the thing that was placed in you before anyone had an opinion about you, only that thing carries the structural integrity to build a life on. Now, I want to talk to you about something that most people misunderstand. Something that frightens small-minded people more than aggression, more than anger, more than confrontation. I want to talk to you about the power of a person who is genuinely, completely, utterly indifferent to both your praise and your criticism. Not the person who pretends not to care. Not the person who wears emotional unavailability as a mask while secretly refreshing their notifications at 2 in the morning. I mean the person who has gone through the fire, who has faced rejection and been refined by it, who has faced mockery and emerged from it unaltered, who has received standing ovations and walked away from them without being intoxicated, who has been called a genius and a fool in the same week, and treated both impostors with the same measured, sovereign calm. That person is almost incomprehensible to a society built on the currency of approval, because they cannot be manipulated by withdrawal of love. They cannot be controlled by the threat of criticism. They cannot be seduced by flattery. They cannot be broken by ridicule. What do you do with a person like that? Nothing. You can do absolutely nothing with a person like that, because every instrument of social control, every lever of manipulation that human beings use on one another requires one precondition: that the target cares what you think. Remove that precondition and the instrument becomes useless. This is what history's greatest contributors understood. This is what made them unstoppable. When Galileo told the world that the earth moved around the sun, the entire institutional power of his civilization told him he was wrong. They threatened him. They imprisoned him. They used every available instrument of social terror to make him recant. And he recanted with his mouth. But he never recanted with his mind. Because deep inside, in the place where no tribunal has jurisdiction, in the place where original truth lives, he knew. And knowing is a more durable foundation than any approval committee can shake. When every record label in England told a young band from Liverpool that guitar music was dying and that they had no future, those 4 young men did not collapse into a search for validation. They went back to their music. They went back to the original frequency that lived inside them. And what came out of that frequency changed the culture of the entire planet. When a woman named Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a Montgomery City bus, she was not operating on the approval of the crowd. The crowd, including many within her own community, told her this was dangerous. This was foolish. This was not the time, but she had arrived at that place of sovereign indifference. The place where the truth of what is right outweighs the noise of what is popular. And from that single act of quiet, unshakable indifference, an entire movement rose. This is what indifference to opinion actually produces. Not apathy, not coldness, not disconnection from humanity. It produces clarity. It produces focus. It produces the kind of sustained, directional energy that moves mountains, because it is not constantly being drained by the exhausting task of managing other people's perceptions. So what do? I have diagnosed the disease. I have shown you the mechanism. I have traced the addiction from its neurological roots to its civilizational consequences. Now I must give you the prescription. And the prescription, as always, begins with a question. Whose voice was in your head before you knew what approval was? Go back far enough. Go back to that season of your life before the critics arrived, before the social architecture installed its judgment apparatus in your nervous system, before you learned to edit yourself for an audience. Go back to the child who drew on the walls, not because someone told them to, but because the image in their mind demanded to be expressed. Go back to the teenager who stayed up until 3 a.m, not because they were performing for someone, but because the thing they were doing was so alive, so electric, so perfectly matched to the frequency of their design that sleep felt like a waste. Go back to that. Because that original, unedited, unperformed, unvalidated version of you, that is the version that was assigned a purpose. That is the version that carries the blueprint. That is the version the graveyard will never see if you make the decision today. The first thing you must do is audit your decisions. Go through the last 30 days. Every significant choice you made, who you agreed with, what you posted, what you did not post, what you said yes to, what project you shelved, what conversation you avoided, go through it. And for each one, ask this single question. Was this decision made from my assignment or from my anxiety? Because assignment-driven decisions and anxiety-driven decisions may look identical on the surface. Both result in action. Both produce outcomes. But they draw from fundamentally different reservoirs. One draws from a deep, renewable, internally sourced well of conviction. The other draws from the shallow, brackish, constantly depleting pool of other people's projected expectations. And you can feel the difference. You know the difference. The assignment-driven decision leaves you tired but whole. The anxiety-driven decision leaves you wired but empty. The second thing you must do is starve the approval mechanism deliberately. Do something this week. One significant thing that you know is aligned with your purpose, and tell no one. Do not post it. Do not share it. Do not seek the reaction. Do not even frame it as a secret, which is itself a performance. Simply do it. And observe what happens inside you. Observe the discomfort of the unrewarded action. Sit in that discomfort, because that discomfort is the withdrawal symptom of the addiction. And the only way out of withdrawal is through it. The third thing, and this is perhaps the most important, is to make peace with being misunderstood. Every person in history who carried an original assignment was misunderstood during the execution of that assignment. Not because they were wrong, but because originality, by definition, does not yet have a category. And human beings are deeply uncomfortable with things that do not yet have a category. They will call it arrogance. They will call it naivety. They will call it reckless idealism or dangerous ambition or delusional thinking. Let them call it whatever makes them comfortable with not pursuing their own calling. Because their interpretation of your journey is not a commentary on your destination. It is a commentary on the limitations of their current vantage point. The caterpillar does not consult the other caterpillars before entering the cocoon. It does not take a poll. It does not wait for consensus. It does not ask whether transformation has been approved by the colony. It goes into the dark. It dissolves into something unrecognizable. And it emerges as something the caterpillar community has no framework to comprehend. That process, that dark, private, unvalidated, unglamorous process of becoming, requires your complete withdrawal from the court of public opinion. I want to close with this. The graveyard is patient. It has been waiting for every human being who has ever lived. It waited for the great ones and the forgotten ones with equal silence. It does not discriminate. It does not negotiate. It simply waits. And the only question that ultimately matters in the economy of a human life is not how many people approved of you while you were here. The question is, did you bring what you came with? Did you actually deliver the specific, original, irreplaceable thing that was placed inside you before a single opinion was formed about you? Did you take it out of the package? Did you install it into the world? Did you let it run? Or did you carry it all the way to the edge of the grave, perfectly intact, perfectly preserved, perfectly undelivered, because you were waiting for the crowd to tell you it was acceptable? The fly is going to buzz. It will always buzz. There will always be a voice, a comment, a whisper, a raised eyebrow, a dismissive laugh. There will always be a fly. The question is whether you are a lion. Not a lion that roars for the crowd. Not a lion that performs its strength for the validation of the savannah. But a lion that moves in absolute alignment with its original design. Quiet, deliberate, focused, sovereign, completely unbothered by things that cannot wound it. The hunt is yours. The assignment is yours. The purpose is yours. The graveyard does not have to get it, but it will only remain yours. It will only be delivered if you make one decision today, right now, in this moment. Stop feeding the fly. Thank you.